Good morning, everybody. My name is Jan Geiss. I'm the Secretary General of EUFORES, and to let you know who we are and why we are here. EUFORES is a network of members of Parliament in the European Parliament and in the EU 27 national parliaments to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency. So you can imagine our bosses in the European Parliament, they are the ones, the shadows, the rapporteurs on the Renewables Directive, Energy Efficiency Directive, the Buildings Directive, and so on. So these are the people behind us. And we organize events for the members of Parliament, be it in Brussels, in Strasbourg, and in all national parliaments. We are touring all parliaments, like today, with workshops like this, to discuss what is coming from Brussels, what's going on the national and local level, where can we all learn, how we can learn from good examples, where are some issues that can be discussed. And also to let you know, this workshop is part of a big European Commission project together with EUFORES, which is called the Energy Efficiency Watch, which is going out, but you will learn more about this later on. But before I talk more, I would thank, first of all, our host, Jukka Alenda, a member of the Estonian Parliament, to make this happen. This is always the most important thing, that good partners on the national level open the door to us and make this happen. And I'm also happy that the minister made time for us. That's a huge honor. And I know you always have tight agendas. To let you know, technically, this session will be recorded and live streamed on the Parliament television and will be published later on the YouTube, EUFORES Parliamentary channel on YouTube. So when we have microphones later on, please stand up, because the cameras will try to find you when we have answers and questions and answers. Maybe first question, Minister, do you have to leave after your speech directly or at the end of the session? Just thinking about question and answers maybe a little bit.
Yeah, thank you and good morning. I think I can stay until like 9:45.
Okay, good. Then we'll adapt to this. Good. Also, my thanks goes to supporters. You can imagine covering the cost is also a challenge always. So we're happy that we have partners from the industry. And today we have two sponsors from Estonia, Sunly and Utilitas Wind. And I see Rene Tammist, the CEO. So thanks a lot. That's extremely helpful for us. You all know we are in critical times. Climate change is not having holidays out there. It's happening every day. That's a big challenge we have. We have economical challenges. We have war challenges. Democracies are under pressure. We have daily questions about peace and war that we have to solve. And we believe that all these things are interlinked. And that's also, we will hear more from the European Commission, from Thor-Sten Vertmann about the discussions in Brussels. But the big question is also, how can we stabilize our European democracies, our European economies and societies? And big part of this is, of course, also the energy question. How can we modernize our energy systems? How can we go through the energy transition? How can we implement the Green Deal? And now, combined with this in a very efficient approach, how can the Clean Industrial Deal help us to make Europe also a stable economic continent? Because without a strong economy with jobs in the population, we might also not be able to afford climate protection and so on. So I want to talk more, because it's not about me, it's all about you, about the panelists, the experts, and also you will have time for discussions and questions and statements. I would like to invite now our host, Jukka Alenda, who opened the door for us, who made this happen. And it's a huge honor, Jukka, and I'm very happy that we're back here again. By the way, sorry, I didn't say this. This is the third time that we're here in the room. We had big conferences already here. So please, go ahead.
Thank you, Jan, and welcome to everyone to the Parliament of Estonia, the Riigikogu. Also, first of all, thank you to the EUFORES for wanting to make this event happen here in Estonia, who we do have a very brown past, but we do also think, believe and know that we have a very bright future. And of course, thank you also to the other partners, to the Estonian Renewable Energy Association, and the companies. We do have a very good cooperation, I think, between the state and the other actors. And also a huge thank you to my staff at Riigikogu Environment Committee, who have been very helpful in facilitating this day. I would have to start with maybe the name we don't want to mention, but I think Putin has a huge role in us all being here today. About 5 years ago, starting to manipulate the energy markets, the energy systems, realizing perhaps also that the time is coming to an end when, with the fossil energies, you can keep Putin can keep the West on a sort of leash, is coming to an end. I think this is the kind of example of this that you mentioned also, Jan, how these issues are so connected. Energy, economy, peace, security, and our well-being are all very connected. And at the time where we are, I do remember very well when the full-scale invasion into Ukraine started, and suddenly we started all discussing at our dinner tables the kind of weapon systems that were needed. We started discussing things we didn't really want to know, perhaps, but unfortunately we have all had to become almost experts in this. And I think the same thing happened with energy, in fact. Previously, we didn't even used to think about it very much. Definitely, we didn't even used to think about the price very much. But I think when this energy transition got this very huge push also by the war, and by the realization that we cannot depend on countries' fossil energy, such as Russia, it really also got an acceleration. Our president called the wind turbines the turbines of freedom. And I think for the first time also our people started to understand what this is about. But of course, as they say, money makes the world go round. And this is the second issue. I think when we started to see during the beginning of the energy crisis, very much started by Putin, by manipulating with the gas storages, that this is actually about something that is on our kitchen tables every day. How is the bill going to look? And how this affects the economy also. And then it became really an issue also for us politicians. As a former minister, seeing how the day's electricity price is actually constantly on the first page of the main news outlet. This has really become the issue. But it is a very difficult time because it's a huge transition, and we are at the present in a time where the old, the brown that I was mentioning, is not here anymore. It doesn't work. It's too expensive. And it's too bad for our health also, not to even mention the health of the planet. But the new is not yet here either, fully. We don't exactly yet have the perfect mix in all countries. We don't yet have the perfect, strong, fully functioning grid and markets on all the new specifics of making the electricity system work. So it is a difficult time. And it takes a lot of courage from all of you in the sector being persistent and actually securely taking us to this new time. So thank you for that work. And what makes me very happy, of course, is that I can end on a positive note with this welcoming remark. Here, the goals of making electricity affordable, of making it clean, here the goals actually align. And if we look at where we were when the Paris Agreement was signed 10 years ago, we were on the course for 3.4 degrees warming, global warming. Now we are at 2.5. So there is definitely good things happening, but indeed we need to do more. We need to be smart, and we need to be persistent, and we need to be very radically honest with our people so that they understand why we are doing what we are doing and how we will get there. But I am sure we will get there together. So thanks again, and have a great discussion today, and wish you all the strength in your work.
So thanks a lot, Jukka, and I'm very happy that you repeat that optimism is a must, you know, so that's a good point. So Minister Sutt, I'm very happy that you came now to present to us the Estonia's new energy plan and how you plan to implement the EU Clean Industrial Deal. So that's a fairly challenging times, but a big, honest work. Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning once more. Well, in direct reply to your last question, I would say it's a huge opportunity. I think people tend to look at the transition as a cost. That's a flawed view of the world. The right view of the world is this transition offers us a huge, once-in-a-century opportunity to invest and to get much better environment, much cleaner world, and much higher living standards. That, I think, is the way how I see it. Now, it's kind of interesting. I happened to be on another event on the same topic a couple of days ago, and there was a guest speaker coming from another country of the Union, and in his view, the coal and oil are the future of the world. Tons of nice slides supporting kind of the case. So I felt the past and the future were colliding. And here it's the same world, the same topics, and completely different view. And I think the view what is in this space here is much more forward-looking and not sticking with the past. I think also it would have been enormously beneficial at this another event if there would have been some investors who are investing in renewables present and making their claim that they are not angry on their money, but actually they are also pretty much targeting the same returns, just a little bit more, or quite a bit more forward-lookingly. So, but in a nutshell, I think what we aim at here are three words what Jukka already alluded to. It's clean, it's resilient, and it is at competitive price. So that's, simply put, the energy policy of Estonia. Yes, it is transition. It is disruptive change, but as I said, this disruptive change is for the better. If we look how far we have gone, last year, 2/3 of electricity produced in Estonia was renewable, and 2/3 out of 2/3 was wind and solar. So we're moving. I think the biggest block on the road to cross is not the money. Well, in some instances, but I come to that as well. It might a bit be, but not the lack of money, but the lack of a proper financing structures. But the biggest hurdle I think we face collectively is to convince people that investment in renewables is the right thing to do, and having windmills or wind turbines not in somebody else's backyard, but in your own backyard, is actually beneficial. But this takes an effort, it takes time to convince, and this is, I think, one of these like soft policy challenges. We are, and I think most of you in the audience have already had a chance to comment on the new long-term energy plan, which clearly puts also the price or end price for a consumer as one clear target. It has, I glanced on the agenda, we are not giving up a commitment to be 100% clean. We don't just see that having a target of being 100% supplied by domestically generated renewable energy by 2030 is realistic to achieve. We are almost there, so 5 years to go, and in 5 years it doesn't happen. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't move towards fully clean energy, and I specifically mention clean because also nuclear is part of energy mix. We need baseload, and for baseload the nuclear is pretty much the right option. And it's not something unique for Estonia. There are a big number of countries around the world who are actually doing all the same. By different estimates or by different scenarios, there will be investment in the order of 1.7 to 2.3 trillion in nuclear power generation globally by 2040, if I'm not mistaken, by the year. So that part, I think, is also important to emphasize. Yoko very rightly mentioned the war of aggression, and it's not something what is hypothetical when it comes to resilience and security of a grid. That's another very clear priority, and it's not only about physical security. That is also important. Physical security on the ground, in the air. It's also cyber resilience, but it is equally about the equipment we are using in our critical infrastructures. So who is equipment provider? Can we trust these companies and the countries they originate from? And that's why having a full control over how the systems are managed, be it generation or a grid, is extremely important, because the hybrid threats are not lower, but they are higher. So that, I think, is part of the industry standard, what we need to see. Then I mentioned about financing. Yes, the world has been get accustomed to a CFD scheme, which is simple, convenient, but then it is also a question, are the end consumers willing to pay for it? And the answer to that question in our instance, for different reasons, was no. So one can think of an alternative investment scheme which would help tie the ends, because the first hurdle is that banks are not willing to finance because they have no visibility about the price of electricity. They can calculate what's the amount of electricity generated, but the price is unknown. As we don't have developed PPA market here, so there are not too many options left conventionally. But you can always design a guarantee scheme whereby the senior lender is guaranteed repayment regardless of the price of electricity, which basically in simple terms means a maturity transformation and credit enhancement for senior lenders. And then, of course, a trick or another breach to be crossed is how to make it all also attractive for the developer. So this is something what we are working on, and I'm optimistic that we will come to something what actually works, and we can get investment here flowing. Because, as I said in the beginning, this disruptive change is not a cost, but once in a century opportunity to invest and grow. So that's the whole whole story behind it. I think it also ties nicely with a clean industrial deal, because at the end, it's also nice if we export electricity as such. We are like 1/3 of electricity we had to import last year. So we can only, there is plenty of space to invest. So it's not that onshore wind pushes out offshore, or there is no space never for a nuclear. I mean, Finland and Sweden are expecting their electricity consumption to grow at least twofold by 2040. So there is massive shortage of power generation in Europe. If we consider how quickly and to what extent the economies are going to be electrified. So there is space for everybody, provided we have interconnections. And more importantly, we would also welcome here very much clean, high energy intensity consumers. That would also, of course, as you know, as investors, help to bridge the gap also in the financing side. If there is a PPA market available to a bigger extent as today, I think we could also circle the equation here much easily. So that, I think, is by and large the world we live in, looking positively into the future, huge investment opportunities, billions of euros, and there is a clear commitment really to move to clean energy. And it happens. The only question is how quickly. And quickly means not necessarily by also to those sort of power generation and oil shale companies who are working in Estonia. It's not about pushing somebody out of a market, but it's obvious that if you look at the economics, investment in renewables is much more competitive than new investment in fossil power generation. So that, I think, basically gives you confidence that we will be very clean in electricity and energy, and I guess maybe sooner than we have set the targets. But let's see. I have always been optimistic, sometimes overly optimistic, but sometimes also right. So I would stop here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Minister. Since you have to leave in about 20 minutes, okay, if we take a couple of questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Be it from the podium or from the participants. Are there any burning questions? A short statement? If not, then you did a great job. There's one. There's a microphone coming up. Please stand up and present yourself.
Good morning, Magnus Hallman. I'm representing one of the developers here, Tool Energy. So, Minister Sutt, you talked about competitive prices. And many times, I'm Swedish, so I'm looking at the Swedish market and I'm seeing what we have done wrong. We talked about prices as an absolute number, but competitive prices is actually the real thing, where you actually work and look at the surrounding world. So how do you view that? Do you have a sort of a target number in your head, or where is it?
Yes, we have a target number, and you are right in the way you ask the question. So what we target is that the end price, so electricity plus all the grid fees, taxes, whatever is applied to the end consumer in Estonia, will be lower than the average of the Baltic Sea countries in all consumer groups. So that's measurable target. Everybody can check. We meet it already for households. We also meet it for small scale or smaller consumption consumers. And we don't meet it with in a large consumer segment. But for a large consumer segment, it is precisely, I think, the PPA market and other things what should help to bridge that gap as well. So it's like hard, easily measurable target.
Here's one and here one. He goes first.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Good speech and really good topics. One which I like to ask that...
Could you present yourself so that we...
Sorry, Jukka Patrikainen from ABB, Estonia. I'm from Finland, but still Estonia. And have you done... The price is price, this is clear. But have you done a scenario calculations that how much foreign investments might come to Estonia, industrial investment, business investment, in case our price of electricity is 20% less, for example, versus today? Because this is one of the key indicators for the industrial investment, the price of the electricity.
We have done many calculations, and of course, some of the calculations have caused a lot of heated debates. So, well, in most of my professional career, I have been in a financial world, and one thing I learned is every forecast is wrong from the moment it was finalized. The only question is to what direction. Is it too optimistic or too pessimistic? Now, and that's why I think the focus has been in public debates, at least here. I think too much about the price of electricity itself and too little about what's the total price, so including all the fees and other things. But this is where precisely I think I mean, if we talk about, say, bigger consumers, be it a data center or somebody else, then it becomes the kind of package what we as a country can offer. Price of electricity, the end price of electricity is certainly one thing. In case of data centers, it is also a question about availability of water. It is also about the temperature here. Of course, we don't compete with, it's pretty similar with Finland. And then a few other things. I think taxation also matters. And the corporate tax system, what we have here, where you can sort of, you start paying corporate tax once you start paying out dividends. Everything before that, for as long you reinvest, your effective tax rate is 0. And that is also, I think, very helpful in some countries, and here also in terms of amortization and all other these tax-related things. I think we are really, really flexible. And importantly, we have lots of space. That's also not insignificant. The grid is available, and it is a question. Sometimes it is so who should come first, like large consumers or power generation. I think power generation has to come first, because otherwise it's difficult to sell. But look, if you come here, we will build clean energy for you. I mean, that doesn't work, I think, this circle. So we need to get investors here. But we actually have also agreed to provide a compensation for a renewable energy fee for large-scale companies who face the carbon leakage risk, so basically the competition from third countries. So all these kind of incentives, the scheme still needs to get approval, state aid approval from a commission, but the substance is agreed. So it's, okay, in one sentence, if you come to Estonia, you come to a tailor shop. It's not like a large-scale one-size manufactured suits or other elements or clothing. So we will tailor you what fits the needs the best.
Okay, one last question here. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Guy Willems. I work for Wind Europe. We are the European Wind Energy Association representing the whole European wind energy supply chain. First of all, thank you, Minister, for your positive look on how Estonia is going to move forward in the field of renewables. I wanted to address shortly your comment on CFDs for your offshore wind energy expansion. I know there have been a lot of conversations about this in Estonia as well, but maybe one thing to consider is we see auctions failing at the moment, exactly because there's no clear revenue stabilization system in place. We have seen it in big markets, in Denmark, in Germany, probably soon in the Netherlands as well, because these systems are not in place. If you are not going for CFDs, which we would recommend, is there another stabilization system that you would in place? And when are you going to announce this also to have the clarity for the industry, also internationally, to invest in Estonia and build those wind farms here?
Yes, it is precisely about the revenue stabilization, but I think one needs to take a step back at the first place. The price of electricity is not going to stay at 20 euros per megawatt. I mean, 20, 30 euros per megawatt hour you can run, or maybe, doesn't matter. I mean, if it is already, say, the nuclear power plant, which is in its 40s or 50s, then you can basically, your cost of, your OPEX is pretty much zero. So you have depreciated everything, you have received your returns, your investment has repaid, and you can price very competitively. But if you want to have new investment in a system, the price of electricity has to be higher. Well, I don't know exactly where the ballpark is, but say 50, 60, that magnitude. And then everything becomes bankable. I think we are facing like a short-term challenge, making the price of electricity visible, because we have seen this huge volatility in prices, at least in our region, where you have negative prices or negative hours, and then triple-digit hours in the same day. As we get more battery storage to the market, as we get more dispatchable, say, gas-powered power generation to cut the peaks and also to cut the negative hours, everything becomes much more transparent. So if we guarantee, as I mentioned, to the senior lenders that they will always be repaid by the schedule, and then not in the form of CFD, but in exchange of a debt issued by the SPV, what has been set up, for example, to build a wind farm, it is just a simple maturity transformation exercise. And it's not sophisticated financial instrument which nobody understands. It is very plain vanilla guarantee which provides a credit enhancement for the senior lenders. I don't know why nobody hasn't thought about it earlier, but it's simple structure which we are working on, and hopefully we'll get ready, say, by the end of this year, and then every other country in Europe is also welcome to copy.
Okay, I would say that we move on now on the agenda, and I invite now Thor-Sten Vertmann. He's Policy Officer in the European Commission, DG Energy. And Thor, you're also leading the group to assist Ukraine in energy questions. But you're here today to talk about the Clean Industrial Deal and what opportunities are hidden in it. Thor.
Thank you very much, and I think everything's been said already. So, dear Minister Sutt, Ms. Allender, dear members of the Parliament, EUFORES members, staff of EUFORES, very honored to take part in this event, and of course as an EU civil servant, but even more so as an Estonian. And to start off on the right foot, the EU does not function as a black box. And active participation in these discussions, in public consultations, at the European Parliament, through national parliaments, member states' governments, civil society, European Commission, with its stakeholder relations, everything is important to make the most out of Europe. And I represent the Energy Department of the European Commission, and we have a clear example in our sector with the Clean Energy Package that was negotiated in 2017 among the member states under the leadership of Estonian EU presidency at the time. And Clean Energy Package constitutes the very foundation of the EU internal energy market, or EU energy acquis. At the time, so the parliamentarian following the negotiations was also the former Prime Minister and current Foreign Policy High Representative and the Vice President of the Commission, Kaja Kallas, at the European Parliament at the time. A former Latvian Prime Minister Kariņš was the main rapporteur in the Parliament. And currently we have the Estonian MEP Ratas in ITRE committee as the shadow rapporteur for the 2040 climate targets. So Estonians, I put in one Latvian as well, can make a difference. Clean Energy Package was adopted in 2019, and I won't jump to today without stopping at first the COVID crisis. During the COVID period, we witnessed two extremely important phenomena. First, there was much lower demand, and renewable energy was able to meet that demand. From a power system perspective, we saw that in these circumstances, power system remained stable, even if the maintenance at the time was more challenging than it should have been. Second phenomenon, renewables dominating the market drove down the electricity prices. Minister has already mentioned the negative prices. Power sector itself counted 1,800 instances of negative prices across the EU in 2020. So that was a peek into the future. What does it mean for the power system? What does it mean for the energy market if renewables start dominating? Second stop before arriving to today. So from January 2021 to August 2022, electricity wholesale prices in Europe increased 5 times, 500%. So let's make it very clear from the start, this is the most expensive energy we've had based on imported fossil fuels. So over the recent years, and this is a fairly stable characteristic, the EU has imported about 50, higher 50s, lower 60s in percentage of energy. Estonia stands out. In 2020 was the lowest import dependency figure, with just 11% imported of its energy budget. This dependency will remain. As I said, this is a stable characteristic, but we know where the dependency is. The EU imports 95% of the oil, petroleum products, and 90% of natural gas. So this will take us to the current political mandate. And ahead of the mandate, we started with 2 important reports by Enrico Letta and Mario Draghi, respectively on the importance of the single market and EU competitiveness. So first, it's been very clear that for the consumers, there is huge socio-economic benefit from the internal integrated energy market of the EU. So on electricity only, during the crisis, Acer, the Energy Regulators Cooperation Authority, estimated 34 billion consumer benefits annually. Crisis years were stood out, not in a good way, but this is a standard outcome of the market benefit that we expect to continue, to reach 43 billion per year by 2030. That's clear on the consumer's side. On the other hand, I've already mentioned the negative prices. This has come up through the questions as well. What is the perspective of the producers, suppliers, the investors in this new market? We need to consider that the fossil-based power production is 85% OPEX cost. Renewables are CAPEX plus financing cost 90%. So a completely upside down picture. One is OPEX financed business model, the other one is all about CAPEX and financing cost. And this we need to consider very carefully going forward in order to trigger the necessary investments. It looks good for the time being. International Energy Agency estimates for this year EU clean energy investments at $390 billion. More importantly, the ratio between investments to renewables and fossil fuels is 35:1. So the market appreciates clean energy investments, appreciates renewables. The EU's electricity mix is already 70% low carbon. 47% is renewables, 23% is nuclear. Estonia stands out again in a positive way. 2/3, 57% I have in my figures, renewable energy sources for last year is above this 47% of the EU average. Very high increase rates both for wind and solar, 63% growth last year. So with the EU traditionally heavily dependent on energy supply by importing, this is a very significant development. From the decarbonization perspective, from the energy security, import dependency perspective, but with one major caveat. So who is manufacturing these net zero clean energy technologies and how? And this takes me to the final topic, the competitiveness. So based on Mario Draghi report, the focus of the current political mandate of the Commission is to make EU an attractive location for manufacturing, energy-intensive industry, and clean technologies, and also new circular business models, to have in mind the resources that are needed for the clean tech to provide its products. We have started this year with the competitiveness compass to provide the strategic foresight, and then the Clean Industrial Deal adopted in February this year, focusing on affordable energy, lead markets to have these products based on the needs created stemming from Europe, financing, skills, and international partnerships and global markets with our trusted partners. Last point, indeed, circularity and access to materials. This is perhaps the biggest point of concern for the Estonian audience, whether the opportunities captured are is where Estonia wants to be. We have good examples. We have Skeleton benefiting from the flagship European industry, I mean automotive industry. We have the investments in rare earth materials with EU support. We have discussions about nuclear technologies in Estonia to capture the potential of clean tech sector. So let me conclude. Energy markets. Volatility is the name of the game, and I suggest it's a feature and not a flaw. Every company is or can become an energy company and make use of this volatility. The spread from the negative prices to the recent most discussion about the nascent balancing market in the Baltics. The spread is thousands of euros per megawatt hour, if not 10,000 plus 15,000 euros per megawatt hour. Now those who are not able to benefit from the volatility are an important part of this bilateral or even trilateral setup for the long-term contracts. For the CFDs, for PPAs, doesn't really matter whether we focus on the public sector or private sector solutions. But from an industrial actor, this is an offer to the investors that can be made with the need of fixing the input costs in terms of energy prices for a certain amount of time to create this predictability for the investments to continue in the clean energy sector. I think the negotiating position for the energy-intensive industries is very good in that sense. And finally, the question is, who will build these assets and infrastructure, and with a lot of industrial opportunity for Estonia. And if I still have a couple of minutes, was it yesterday? Arvo Pärt celebrated his 90th birthday. Arvo Pärt said something at the very start of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggression to Ukraine. So he apologized to Ukrainians, to Ukraine, because we were not able to save the country, the people from the war. And this is a very, I think we all understand this notion and this sentiment, and this is why this country and Europe stands with Ukraine. That said, it's not only about moral support and being with Ukraine as an ally. Ukraine is a place to be, is a place where investments are taking place, is a market belonging to the European Union in the future. So for the companies in Estonia, in Europe, where the investment opportunities here in more mature markets are not maybe so attractive, then this is a place to be. Either Ukraine, Moldova, and we from our side, the European Commission, we will make sure, well, first, of course, that the power sector does not collapse in the face of the daily hostilities, attacks by Russia, but more importantly, that the market conditions, the transparency, that rules-based market conditions are provided through the accession process. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Thor. And I would like to invite Ivo Krustok from the Stockholm Environment Institute. And exactly, Ivo, if you speak from there, because then you can steer your PowerPoint yourself. And Ivo, you will give us a perspective on the rollback on Estonia's 100% renewables target by 2030, the implications and the political outlook. And yeah, please.
Thank you very much, honorable colleagues.
Is the microphone on?
Is there a box fixed? I don't see one.
Now it is on. Perfect. You can hear me. That's always a good thing for a presentation. So, honorable colleagues, thank you so much for inviting me. And while I do feel that my presentation might be somewhat more critical, I do have to say that most of the things that were spoken today is, I think, something really most of us can be on the same page about. And while the minister has indeed unfortunately had to go, I also want to make sure that that the understanding is that it is not really a criticism of the big changes that have been made in terms of the future of the Estonian energy planning side, but rather perhaps an overview of the importance of messaging and of the importance of really, well, I'll just go into the presentation and we'll see where we get from there. So I'm starting with the messaging from this year, where while it is not as drastic as it might seem in some of the headlines that overemphasize certain things, there has indeed been a change in the way that we look at the energy sector in Estonia, or at least the future of the energy sector. While if we go back just a few years, there was a very heavy push that Estonia needs to have a huge amount of renewable energy by 2030. We want to be sure that we are able to produce 100% of the usage of electricity in Estonia out of renewable sources by 2030. And this really set in motion a very important change in public rhetoric, in public understanding, in public interest, and also the way that we see the future of our economy and the competitiveness, really, of our economy. And I want to look into why we took this path in 2022. And really, a lot of the arguments have been already said. We know these things. Russia launching its full-scale invasion into Ukraine, and even years before that, playing around with the prices, made us understand that we need to be resilient to price. We need to increase our energy security and increase the way that we produce locally without the use of so many third-party imports. We knew that the technology had evolved into a place where it was actually really beneficial and really logical to invest in renewables. We knew that companies wanted more clean energy. We knew that these changes were a priority, so a clear investment signal was needed so that we just not know these things, but really can act strongly on the knowledge. And something that, while it has not gone away, it is something that is perhaps less in our conscience today. In 2022, we had a very strong push towards aligning with the EU policy and national ambition, especially on the climate and energy side. So all of these things really played a key role in why this target was even pushed forward. So what has changed since then, and why have we changed the way that we look at this question? In 2022, SCI Tallinn, together with Trinomics and Teltec, made an analysis of which kind of energy mix would be the best from a lot of different aspects as to how to decarbonize our electricity system. If we looked at basically all of the different priorities that we have set for ourselves, we want it to be cost effective, we want to have low risk in actually making it to the targets that we want. If we want high feasibility, then the renewables and storage scenario really came up top on everything that we looked at. In the time that has gone by, we actually see that while assessments for the future can be optimistic, can be pessimistic, we were rather pessimistic in a sense that we know that actually the prices, the cost of renewable energy has fallen. And while this could make also a very clear argument in a sense that, okay, the market will take care of it, it's not really a problem, because indeed a lot of the technology has become cheaper, it is also something that we have to consider in terms of what the world has been built on. Thor-Sten mentioned this quite well in terms of the change or a difference in what kind of investments would be needed in order to build these energy systems. The foundations for our current energy system have been built totally differently in a very different world. So in a sense, if we want to ensure that we can move fast, we have to take into account that the subsidies, that the systems that have been built for fossil fuels will have to be taken care of in order to actually boost the growth in renewables. And clear signals from the government in these cases are incredibly important. I haven't actually made this picture before. I took the data from the Estonian Wind Power Association because there's always a lot of discussion about the kind of 10-year gap in Estonian, especially wind energy development. We will hear today in many presentations the kind of high peak of solar development. But what we have seen in Estonia is, generally speaking, we haven't really been very positive on the messaging. I remember this period, the 10-year gap, where pretty much, and I do have to say, not all politicians, not all parties, not everyone, but the general message when talking about wind energy was that they're noisy, they're big, they're problematic. So if these signals are constantly being discussed and not pushed back on, they can make and break the investments. And I do really hope that we can keep the messaging in a way that the upwards movement will now be much more dramatic and not stopped. And it is also really important to discuss what we know today about the importance of decentralized energy systems. We still today in Estonia have our energy system very much next to the border with Russia, a country that is waging a war of aggression at the very moment. And while currently the messaging or the pleas coming from Ukraine focus on the fact that all energy systems that we can set up quickly are needed, they do fully understand the need for decentralized energy systems in increasing their protection, their resilience from a very many set of angles. So if we want this kind of future, if we want a resilient, clean, cost-effective and future-proof energy system, this needs to be a clear priority. And while I don't want to say that it isn't in any way a priority for Estonia, we do have seen that if we flip-flop in our messaging, it can send the wrong signal. So I'm focusing on some of the messaging that we do know today. From one side, the clean future ambition hasn't gone anywhere. We heard it from the presentations today, from our own minister, from the member of Parliament, Jukka. We heard it from Thor-Sten. We see it, I think, in all of our work. And if we listen to the speech from Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, just a few days ago, there is no change in the focus of where we want to go. And the economic and security case, not only the clean case, is really the backbone of it. But we also know that even though sometimes these things do come up in discussions, the general statement is the EU is not only the only one doing this change, but also falling more and more behind in this transition. So in reality, if we look at who is leading this change, it is today China, even in many cases the US being ahead of us. And although the changes that we see in the policies that are coming from there, this is something that we do have to consider as also an opportunity for us to grow faster. So it is about the speed and the way that we set up. So not only in terms of exports, but China also being very much in increasing its renewable use internally very, very quickly. And the messaging is also important not only from the perspective of the economic investments, the interests, but also in the ways that we've perceived. Because while generally speaking, we have been very good at showing ourselves as quite clean, quite modern, quite futuristic, we do also show ourselves sometimes about, in a way that disagrees with these terms, that says that we don't want to move as fast, we don't want to lead the pack, we don't want to push the frontiers. And if this is our future, it will be much more difficult for us to discuss with our partners who have different priorities than us. This has come up quite a bit nowadays in terms of Estonia being very critical towards the positions, for example, of Spain in their defense spending and increased security. But for them, the highest priority question is climate change. And we want to be with them saying, yes, for us as well, we want to move fast here, we want to push the frontier here, because then they are much more comfortable also in working together on the issues that we see as high. So in a sense, I want to say targets aren't slogans. They are a way to align investors, planners, and the public. And if we walk back on the targets, if we change the rhetoric around them, It signals uncertainty, and uncertainty is something that you don't want to give to the market, you don't want to give to your partners, and you don't want to give to the public. And while I can fully understand that setting a very highly ambitious target can mean that it will take more time to get there than you initially thought, difficult challenges need ambitious targets because they need strength in action and consistency in action, and that's why we set them. So if we want to get to a cost-effective, clean and resilient power system, we must keep ambition high and we must keep it constant overall. Delay is the expensive option, and this is why I'm kind of constantly hammering this point, because if you say that we'll think about it a bit, it will take longer, it will be something that we still have discussions around, it is difficult, then the projects and the jobs go elsewhere, the financing costs rise, the bills that you have to pay for electricity stay higher for longer, and local opposition hardens because everyone hears these messages, they see the flip-flop. So if we want to get a cheaper, more investment-focused energy system and stronger security, we have to stay on course, even though we know it's hard, and even though we know we need to make some changes in that, even though we need to understand, of course, all the challenges around it. Because also, some of the discussions today in Estonia focusing around local communities and local governments are not about the fact that no one wants to build something in their backyard or people being very much opposed. It's that we must keep on our path, we must figure it out in the long term, and this is also a way of messaging where we are going, and also a way for us to be timely in the way that we engage people and the meaningfulness in which we engage people. And then we can ease opposition, we can speed up progress, because in entirety, this is basically a trust issue for all involved. Do we know where we're going, and do we know how to get there? Thank you.
Thanks, Ivo. Also, thanks that you mentioned also the question about communication, narratives, and storytelling, and we will hear more in session number 3, because research just coming out about this. Yeah, and now it's my honor to give the final presentation to Silva Silak. He is director of the Estonian Renewables Association. Silva, very happy to have you with us. You have a PowerPoint as well, I assume, or no? And you will talk about a point of view on the Estonian energy transition, where to go from here.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, all good, okay. Yeah, I'm also happy to say that many things have already been said here, and I can just repeat them, but also maybe bring out a few things that we maybe don't agree on, just to have a discussion, because we want to have a discussion here. So, but first of all, I'm from the Estonian Renewable Energy Association. It was established in 2011, and we represent the largest wind, solar, bio and hydroenergy producers in Estonia, and also district heating companies. And we were established with the aim, we were one of the first in Estonia to come out with a vision or the aim to work towards a gradual transition to 100% renewable energy in Estonia. And we are very glad that it is still today written in the law, and then the ambition, as was said by the minister, has not gone anywhere. So I will briefly talk here today about 4 things. First, where are we with our renewable energy transition today? Where to go from here, which was the title of the presentation. What is holding us back, and what should we do to make it happen? So first, a few pictures about where we are today. We have talked a lot about electricity, but I want to start from the heating and cooling sector, because we are very proud in Estonia that we are at already 70% of renewable energy share in our heating sector, which is mainly based on sustainable biomass from our own local forest and timber industry residues. And also we have over 200 district heating systems all over the country, which is something that a lot of other member states don't have. We have very efficient district heating systems and power plants in our largest cities, and this is something that other countries are trying to copy right now. So This is really something to be proud of. The transport sector is lagging a bit behind, like everywhere. We are at around 10% of renewable share in our transport sector. There are perhaps most challenges in the transport sector, but there is also a big potential for electrification, which brings us to the electricity sector, because a lot of the transition to renewables in other sectors depends on the electricity sector, because it depends on the availability of renewable electricity. Right now we are at around 40% of renewables in our electricity consumption, but there lies clearly the biggest and the quickest potential to reach 100% renewables. To look at the electricity production a little bit more closely, the last few years have been the first ones where renewable electricity production has been larger than electricity production from fossil fuels, oil shale in the Estonian case. This has been, of course, largely due to the decrease in fossil fuel electricity production, but also due to a small increase in renewable electricity production, and we hope that this will continue. To look even more closely at renewable electricity production in the last year, in the example of last year, what I want to highlight here is that we can see that the production is quite stable throughout the year. Biomass, which is marked in green on this picture, we can rely on throughout the year. In the summer and in the spring months, of course, we have more solar electricity production, but in the autumn and in the winter we have more wind, so actually wind and solar complement each other almost perfectly, and we think that there is not so much need for base load anymore, because other renewables along with storage can manage this pretty well. And new electricity production capacities, Ivo already mentioned the 10-year sort of gap where there was almost no new wind farms in Estonia. We have now had new wind farms in the last few years, luckily, and also one of these was the biggest wind farm in Estonia so far. In the solar sector, the development has been better, I think. Already for the past 5 or 6 or 7 years, we have had constant growth in solar, new solar farms, and we are already reaching to a point where the market is well, not to say saturated, but we have in the summer many hundreds of hours where we have very low electricity prices, which is good for the consumer, of course. And this is an example of the new Tootsi wind farm, the biggest wind farm in Estonia, which was built recently. And just to show that we're not talking only now about standalone wind farms or standalone solar farms, but also more and more about hybrid solutions where wind and solar are combined together with storage. And I think this is the future. So where to go from here? I don't think there's a big question. We have a very good target in the law right now in paragraph 32 of our Energy Sector Organization Act, which says that by the year 2030, renewable energy will account for at least 100% of our final consumption of electricity. So 100% renewable electricity by 2030. Of course, we can debate whether it's achievable by 2030 or 2032 or 2035, but I think in principle it's a very clear and motivating target for everyone to work towards. And I think this is something that should be kept and appreciated. Now, why 100% renewables? There has been today and for the past year or so, there has been a lot of talk about energy prices and electricity prices. Of course, it's important. Prices are relevant, especially right now in the situation of high inflation. But I really liked there was a conference organized by Elektrilevist, our distribution system operator, last week. And one of the presenters was our Minister of Finance, Jürgen Ligi, from the Reform Party. And well, you would expect from the Minister of Finance to say that price is the most important, but actually what he said, which I really liked, is that price is important, but we shouldn't talk so much about price because there are other values that we should talk about also. Because before price come, what renewables can offer us is the use of our own domestic resources, which can decrease our dependence on imported energy from, so to say, non-friendly countries, which is extremely important, an extremely important value at the moment. We will have greater energy efficiency, which will, of course, show up in the price, in the lower price of energy, but also it will decrease our environmental impact. We will have cleaner air. We will have no mining and toxic waste in Ida-Virumaa. We will have less workplace accidents in the mines and in the power plants. And also we will, of course, contribute our fair share to climate change mitigation. So in addition to having a cheaper energy and electricity price, I think these are also very important values that we should keep in mind when we are doing this transition. So what is holding us back? I would like to point out 4 things: planning and permitting, investment conditions, untapped potential of electrification and efficiency, and the lack of a clear and ambitious vision. So first, about planning, this year only 2 wind farm plans have been approved, and both of them have been challenged in court, which means that they will not be built anytime soon. And the problem is in Estonia that basically everyone can appeal in court. They don't have to show any connection to the project or to the place where it is being developed. And we think this is a problem because this can potentially lead to the overflooding of the court system, and it is clearly just a political obstruction. Since the planning law was changed a few years ago with the aim to accelerate the deployment of renewables, no building permits for wind farms have been issued, and we have had no accelerated plans approved. So on paper we have made changes. In practice we have had no changes at all. So this is a quite sad situation. Investment conditions have been talked about already here today, but I just want to highlight that the electricity market is not a classic free market. It's influenced by, like was already said, a very high price fluctuation and also strict regulation. We can have, in 1 hour, we can have electricity price in thousands of euros per megawatt, and in the next hour we can have it 0 or negative. So this is clearly something that doesn't happen in other markets. And this kind of uncertainty makes it very difficult to raise necessary capital, especially for large projects and for more long-term investments. So as was said here already by the Wind Europe, that CFDs are the preferred mechanism in the EU for incentivizing investment in renewables, but also in other electricity production capacities. And this is not just the opinion of us or the Wind Europe, but it is also written in the energy market regulation of the EU that this is something that should be used when needed by the member states. These are both beneficial for the producers and consumers. So in this sense, we are sad that the Estonian government does not plan to continue with CFDs, but we see that there clearly is a need for some sort of guarantee mechanism to make these investments happen. There is a large untapped potential for electrification in heating, in transport, and industry. And depending on the sector, it can enable energy savings from 30 to 60% even, simply due to the efficiency gains from the electric technologies compared to fuel combustion, because they're so much more efficient. And in addition, they will help increase the market for power purchase agreements or PPAs, which will help with the reduced electricity price volatility combined with other flexibility solutions, and it will be, again, beneficial for both producers and consumers. Another big segment of where there is big potential for efficiency improvement that I want to highlight is the building sector, where reconstruction can help reduce energy consumption of buildings up to 60%. And it can also enable us to develop the district heating sector, to build it out more efficiently, to expand it, to move towards the new modern fourth generation district heating with lower temperature and greater efficiency. Clearly, it's a huge challenge. In the picture you can see we are just in the beginning or on the crest of the huge renovation wave, and we need to work a lot to make this happen. And lastly, the lack of vision. The new energy development plan has been prepared already for 4 years. We have had 4 versions, and unfortunately we see that the last version compared to the previous one has less ambition and has less detail than the previous one. So this is unfortunate because it doesn't give us any assurance or gives us less assurance in which way the government or the energy economy is going. We can see that we are falling or have already fallen behind in our ambition, not only to Nordic countries, but also to Latvia and Lithuania. More investments are going there than are coming here. And simply this means that instead of us reaping the benefits of our own domestic energy generation, other countries will do it, and we will rely on them on our energy and electricity needs. And they will also get all the benefits, which we will not. So what should we do? Lastly, 4 very simple suggestions by me. Firstly, the Energy Economy Development Plan is still open. It should provide a clear and ambitious vision for the energy economy that we can all strive for, and which will bring investment here rather than in the neighboring countries. We should really try to simplify and accelerate planning and permitting more, because this is clearly the bottleneck right now. Investments need guarantees, investors need guarantees, whether it's through CFD-based tenders or some other mechanism, but we still think that the government should continue with the CFD-based tenders and establish a long-term framework for CFDs that we can foresee and rely on. And lastly, support electrification and efficiency in heating, transport, and industry. So this was all by me, and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Silver. By the way, let me also thank you for helping us in the background to organize the whole event. Discussions with members of parliament. I don't know, Yoko, you have questions. It's your floor.
Yes, thank you to all the presenters. Great input. My question perhaps goes mostly to Silver, and thank you also for the important message. And I think your message, being a politician, I can't stay away from saying that could be also maybe seen on a much bigger picture than only energy. But also thank you to Ivo for the same. Of course, it is a difficult choice if you want to make big changes and you hear the very loud voice of people who maybe don't want that change that quickly, or maybe even want to close their eyes and don't want any change at all. Whether to listen to those people, how much to listen to them, and how to persist. But I was thinking about the legislative part, we actually have put in the law the very important clause that renewable clean energy is of public interest, and there is a point where the court discussions and the private interest is, or maybe the disinterest can be overruled. But as I understand, we have not yet used this clause. Is it so? And do you see that this might make a change if we get to use this clause?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I think that's, yeah, you put it very right. That's exactly the situation, that we have the clause in the law that in principle renewable energy is of public interest or even overriding public interest, but the law is simply not being implemented or acted upon, and whether it should be done in the court or whether it should be done in the local local level by the municipalities and by the planners, I think we would prefer to have it done before it gets to the court. This would be clearly the more favorable option. So I think this just boils down to the municipalities and other actors on simply implementing the law.
Yeah, but what I mean is that I think this is a kind of a existential or bigger kind of clause. So I think maybe we do need this process with some case to go up to maybe even the high court and to get this example so that the next municipalities actually know what the practice is. So maybe this is a little bit what I'm waiting for, and also what I meant with the similar thing about to Ivo maybe, when we looked at this 10-year gap. I don't think the 10-year gap was because we had messaging of turbines being high or ugly or noisy. The 10-year gap was actually because we had defense issues with the radars that we needed to buy, and these were actually processes that we needed to go through. And I think it's a little bit similar case with these, we are in now with these local issues. And I do think maybe we need to go through this process and come to this point where also the higher judiciary at some point says that this is actually of a public interest, because this is what the Riigikogu has actually decided.
Okay, we're a little bit over time already, but are there 1, 2 urgent burning questions among the participants to the speakers? If not, I thank all the participants and the panelists for now, and I would switch now to session number 2, and I would invite the speakers of the next session to the panel. And the next session will be about the road to 2023, Estonia's options for the implementation of the energy transition. And yeah, please, edasiviiva, Rene Tammist, Peeter Raudsik, and Rudolf Penu, please join me on the panel. Thanks a lot. Okay, so round number 2. I'm happy to invite Terje Wolf now on the floor. You have a PowerPoint, right? So yes. Terje, you would also speak from over there, please. Terje Talv is the CEO of the Estonian Wind Power Association, and she will discuss about what comes after CSAF, so the Clean Industrial Deal State Aid Framework, complicated work, but very interesting and important, and what that means for Estonia's offshore wind future. Please.
What do I have to do? Yeah, no, it's good. Okay. So, good day. My name is Terje. Nice to be here. Nice to see you all in here and share the experience and ideas. So, like previous speakers, a lot has already said, but I think I maybe can add some point. Today, my mission is explain a bit about in Estonia of Estonian offshore wind, and let's start from there. So in Estonia, as you know, our east neighbor is east neighbor. So all our offshore areas are located in the west. And there is, Estonia is the sea country, there is a lot of sea, and we have a lot of area that we can use for offshore wind. If I go around in Europe, they are always a bit envy because in Estonia we have so much sea, especially from like Austria or something. And we have two spatial plans that are valid, and it's 250 square kilometers that we can use for offshore wind. There is different estimated numbers how much offshore wind we can put there, but the highest number that I have seen from official documents are 15 up to 17 gigawatts. Estonia doesn't need 17 or 15 gigawatts electricity. I think almost never, but it's the opportunities that we can have and the electricity that can be produced in Estonia. I have to also point out that everything is located in the west, but historically, Estonian electricity was produced in the east, and it means that we have to change direction and go to the sea. We have one supervisor's license, it's Saare Wind Energy. We have one project that is completed the EIA, Environment Impact Assessment. We have one project that is really close to close EIA, it's NFE Green. And in progress we have Ignitis, Deep Wind Offshore, Oxen, and yes, I see Deep Wind Offshore is the wrong name, Tuul Energy is the correct name. And also I have to mention that there is Elwind, the project together with Latvia, and the other project is in number 8 is in Hiiumaa. It also belongs to NFE Green. I have to also say that this project has been under development 18 years, but still no offshore wind park in Estonia. So all these projects, let's start from the beginning, they are bit more than 1 gigawatt, and one offshore wind park can produce 4 terawatt hours per year. Estonian consumption per year is about 9. So if you build up one offshore wind park right now for Estonian needs, then it can cover half of it. And also, as said before, right now, 1/3 of our electricity is coming from import, so it's really important that we can move forward. As said, all these projects are really going well, and the Saare Wind Energy is collaboration with Van Oord. Utilitas Wind has not opened up the data about who is their partner, but there is someone. And NFE Green was previously in partnership with Sumitomo Corporation. And also to understand EIA or the first round of licenses, it's really heavy of work and money. takes so much from these companies to get to this point. So it's not that they like somehow spend some time and it's magically happened. They have spent so much time and energy to get there where they are. And the next round projects are also on the slide. Ignitis is cooperation with SIP, Levy Bay, and Levy Bay area. All the parks are in the same area. Tuul Energy is Deep Wind Offshore, Sangli and Valorem, and Oxon Energy is from France, and it's connected with a Baltic Connect. Or now it's, yeah. So let's jump to the grid. As I said, in Estonia, we have all our grid is, it's developing, but historically our grid has been from the east side. And now we are going to the west side, and not even the west side, we are going to the wild, wild west. We are going beyond the land, and we are going to the sea. So it's really hard, difficult task for our DSO to handle this and to get there that we actually have the capacities to understand and to transmit all this energy. And also, all you know that earlier this year, beginning of this year, we disconnected from Russia, and now we are synchronizing with the western side of Europe. And we have two other projects that there is interconnection. There is Estlink 3. We already have two interconnection with Finland, and also the fourth connection with Latvia is in the progress. And there is a picture in the slide. There is a port of Tallinn. So we also have a port of, it's located in the Paldiski. It's a bit west side of Estonia, and there is opportunity. There actually is already a port that can handle and be the base port for the offshore developments. So we have this, we are capable of handling offshore wind. And that was the way that we are going until early this year. As said many times in this room, you need some financial guarantee if you want to develop something so big as it is offshore wind park. And we have reached the agreement with the previous government that it was also in the government coalition agreement that Estonia will announce CFD auctions. And in Estonia it was like early this year, there was announcement. Was it this year? Was it last year? This year? That it will be there, 4 terawatt hours. After a while, it was reduced to 2 terawatt hours, its yearly amount, and then it was cancelled. And now we are moving towards guarantee-based support model. That is something else, and that was what the minister previously talked about. I'm trying to find the right and correct and nice words about it. If you are dealing with a so big project and you have clear understanding and you have support from the government and the government understands why the CFD scheme is needed, and if you're so far with the project, they are so mature, then change all the direction is really hard for the developers. And also, it was about next day after ministers announced that they will not continue with the CFD. The Sumitomo Corporation is the big corporation from Japan. They said that they will leave Estonia. They don't see Estonia as their market. And yeah, I understand why this decision was made. I understand this political agenda around it, but it's still really, really hard for developers, and we are connected around in Europe, in the world, to explain the people there why Estonia started with one message and ended up something completely different. So it is a bit tricky. But as we know, we have a clean industrial deal, and maybe it is our next opportunity to go to the next round, be prepare a bit better and be a bit more clear, and with the message and the government and the local people, and to understand how much something will cost. And we hope that we will still get this guarantee mechanism that will help us to build up the offshore wind parks. The next topic that we need definitely help is the grid connections. It's really big, and it's not because Estonia is lagging behind or being like lazy. It's because it is a big step and it is expensive. Of course, we need always support with the innovation solution. As you know, in Estonia we have winter, and it's the first time ever then where they try to put the offshore wind turbines in the ice conditions. And of course, we have to move on with the green hydrogen production from offshore wind especially. And if I have this opportunity, I think I will repeat a lot of what Silver said last presentation, but I think what we need is clear understanding, clear national targets, offshore wind roadmap. So this event won't repeat itself. We know how the roadmap is going, how much need is needed in Estonia, and so on. And we need to understand how the grid will be developed. We need guarantee mechanism. It's CFD or CFD-like models. Of course, we are keen to enter and use the opportunity from different opportunities from EU. And I think the most important is the egg or chicken question is if we are ready to provide the egg at the same time, and by egg I mean electricity, then at the same time we need also the consumer end, hydrogen, e-fuels, data center ports, and also PPAs. That the topic is already has been on the table several times, but it's really important that the PPA market will be there as well. So that was my presentation. I don't know, is it the happy, the positive or negative one? I tried to be not too sad. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Terje. I share your frustration, but let's be positive.
Yeah.
It's a long-term joint mission that we run for. So I would like to invite Rene to hopefully give us also some more good positive motivation about the future. And Rene, you will talk about the key elements for successful rollout of renewables and systemic solutions. Rene from Utilitas.
Thank you, Jan, and thanks for having me here, and thanks for organizing the event in here. So happy to be also sponsoring, co-sponsoring this event. As we have a limited time, and let's have some time for discussion as well, I will just kickstart immediately. Utilitas is a regional energy player, independent power producer. We have a large district heating networks with assets in Estonia, and we operate several assets in Latvia as well, and are constructing a wind park in Lithuania. Perhaps then I would offer initially more regional perspective from the investor's point of view. I will reiterate several points that have been made by Silver and Terje as well. So as we see, this region, the Baltic states, is one of the regions which have the largest energy deficit in Europe, and on top of that, this is complemented with high electricity prices. From the investor's point of view, this is perhaps a good thing because, well, there's lots of demand, there's high prices, but this is complemented with scattered electricity consumption. So there's very little industrial consumption that you can rely on when contracting long-term offtake contracts. Also what is something that describes the region, complex regulations, permitting processes, which is especially true for Estonia, differing or lacking auction structures and support mechanisms. Currently, there's only a single measure available in three Baltic states, which is CFD tender for offshore in Lithuania. Cost of financing of projects is more expensive than compared to many other places, also actually compared to Finland, which is a neighboring country with Russia as well, and the lack of supply chain in the region, which is also creating its own problems, especially when, for instance, talking about offshore. Now, this issue of long development time of projects has been touched upon, but I just wanted to bring out the actual figures here. The arm of Utilitas Group, Utilitas Wind, has been established 6 years ago, and now been dealing with planning procedures for more than 5 years for our projects, and we are nowhere near of completing them. And on top of that, even if some projects succeed to going through the planning process successfully, there's a court case which would drag along for several years, and we are actually ending up with very long lead times, projects being in development cycle for more than a decade, and this is of course from the investor perspective burden on the cost side, as we have to invest continuously. There's very lots of uncertainties which projects will actually materialize, and in the course of, for instance, court case, if the planning is not moving forward, a lot can happen in the nature. New birds species will emerge in the development site and can destroy your development perspective. So there's a huge numbers of problems which are associated with this very long lead time of one wind park project. Public acceptance is something that has been referred to here. I would just challenge maybe one or two points here, namely, that there is a long or strong resistance towards new wind projects in Estonia. Actually, what the figures are showing from a recent poll that we conducted all over Estonia, which was very comprehensive and representative, was that there is a strong support for wind and solar projects across Estonia. People associate new renewable projects with energy security and affordable prices. Even if discussing or presenting an option of developing new wind parks in the backyards of people, there's a positive support if this is complemented with concrete measures, such as, for instance, discounted electricity price benefit schemes. So there are actually ways to counter the public resistance, which is actually less than half of the people, even where the resistance has been the most vocal, and I would rather actually say that this is more a political obstruction rather than really strong resistance locally from the communities. But at the same time, I reiterate that there's a lot of work to be done from all sides in order to gain public acceptance, in order to engage the local communities. Grid infrastructure. This is something that is, of course, very instrumental for the investment certainty for the projects, that the grid is there. The grid curtailment issues is something that needs to be addressed, especially in Latvia and Lithuania. In Estonia, we still are trying to figure it out how the grid development will now on continue. So there are some positive aspects in the legislation, but there's at the same time uncertainty how the development will actually be, or pre-development of the grid will actually happen. Financing and investment security. Well, I'm trying to following the idea of the ministry to provide new guarantee scheme to make sure that investments into renewables would happen. But at the same time, I think it doesn't address yet the key critical element of creating this stable and predictable investment environment, which is the revenue certainty. And for that, we need some sort of a mechanism that would actually address it. Besides the lenders, we are also trying to find a solution for the equity share of the projects. And the scheme would have to also address this element of the puzzle. And on top of these elements, I would bring out also a bidding zone configuration of the Baltic states. So at least we should aim at bringing these three different bidding zones together in order to actually widen the market and create more opportunities for the investments to happen. Electrification is definitely something that is needing to have a closer look and having actually action plans to address the electrification is something that is necessary. My company, Utilitas, is in the forefront here, electrifying its heating networks, making huge investments in order to tap this potential and rely more and more on local domestic sources. And to sum up, Estonia needs strong targets, clear understanding for the investor certainty, and predictable investment climates with proven mechanism to help to make the investments. And there's a clear need for the permitting and planning the process is to shorten, and I think the ball is in the central government side in order to make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rene. And I would like to invite Peeter Raudsik from Sunli to tell us the other side of the coin, how the sun in Estonia can surprise us.
Hi. Thank you all. I'm Peeter Raudsik from Sunly. Happy to be here and to be also a co-supporter, sponsor for this event here. So the success of solar, of course, is it already is happening. So it's not something even that we have to wait that long for. I'll make 3 small points. I know lunch is approaching as well. So the first is I'll illustrate the success of solar. I'll then explain why it has been so that we actually have a success story inside of this renewables story in Estonia. So it's not only the challenges, but there are actually clear successes as well. And then maybe 2 points on where we're going to go from here. So that's a few words about Sunly first. Established in 2019, preceded with another company, Nelja Energia, which was sold to a state-owned utility, and then Sunly was launched after that. But there is much more experience in the company than not only for the past 6 years, but it goes back more than 20 years. So all in all, we're in the Baltics and Poland, not planning to conquer the world, very much focused on these 4 markets and having growing expertise in these markets as well. Now, here are a few more numbers on where we are and what do we do right now, what is being built, and what is what is being built and what is planned. So this is just an overlook. But now going to solar. So this is a global outlook here, and you will see that globally solar has been very successful. We've built as much as solar in the past 2 years as during previous almost 7 decades. So something is obviously globally going on. There is a super trend unfolding, and the question is, and I'll show how this super trend, this global one, has now materialized also in Estonia's case. So looking at Estonia, here are annual numbers. We see how solar together with wind actually have started to take away share in the electricity production from oil shale. So going 10 years back, it was just around almost 90% for oil shale. Now we are below 50. So this is coming from renewables coming to play. But I think the more interesting look here is obviously the seasonal one. As we know, living in Estonia, solar is not always present, but when it's present, it definitely has an effect on our electricity production here. So seasonally, you can see how solar is really pushing down and taking over electricity market spring, summer, early autumn time. So I think this really shows that this is a way of producing electricity that is here to stay, and it will increase, and it will take more and more as years go past. And we know that from a fact that our largest solar farms are right now under construction. They are not even ready yet, so they are not on this graph. So when Sunly's largest solar farm, more than 200 megawatts, also the biggest in the Baltics, will be ready next year, we will see even bigger shares of electricity coming from solar, especially when we look at the seasonal view. So it's here, and we need to, this needs to be considered as we design our overall system. Now, it's clear it's here, but it's only not producing or giving us electricity. And I think something what has been overlooked is that there are actually ways to do solar power in a way that harms environment very little, or even in some cases and for some types of lands it can actually increase. So here is a recent report available also online from Estonian Nature Fund, which shows how solar parks, or how we can use this to increase biodiversity in these areas. And this is a quote from the report, that on some types of lands, it's actually possible to increase biodiversity. So rather than harming the environment, you can actually do and better it more. And this report also used an actual case of a Sunlis solar farm to conduct these various tests, analysis, and so on. So we've been trying to actively contribute there as well. So besides electricity, you can actually get even more out from solar farms. Now, looking at the reasons why solar has been successful, I think the most important one is the first one. It's been largely deregulated market. So as we heard about the wind development, it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of permitting, a lot of regulation involved, adding a lot of complexities. With solar, it's been the other way around. And this is also my call to lawmakers in the room to keep it deregulated so that this market can grow, that these market participants can take risk. So if you start adding regulation to something that is successful, it will undermine it, and it will take actually this potential, or it will little it. So the deregulation, I think, has been a major part of why solar has been so successful. The second thing is the affordability, and this is very little to do with Estonia. This is just this global trend, and we know that the prices of panels have gone down substantially. Ivo had a very good graph on that, showing how it has over years decreased. And this is just something then that we are now taking advantage of. And we see that also happening with batteries now, this new trend evolving, where battery prices are coming down while at the same time capacity is going up. But coming back to solar, then the reason why it's been successful is that the disruption is small. There is no noise pollution, for example, with environment. As I showed, it's actually an opportunity rather than causing harm. And finally, the fourth point here is that it is very flexible in terms of installation, but now also when it comes to hybridizing production. So you can add solar to wind farms, as we saw from Silver's slide on Tootsi as well, where you have these different production facilities next to each other, or you can add batteries to existing solar. So it is very flexible from the system point of view, but also from an investor point of view, because you can play around quite a lot. So these are the reasons why solar's success is here, why it's still continuing, and we will see much more of it. Now, the question obviously is what to do with this, or what we should take from it. And it's clear that when the market is free, deregulated, then solar will do its job. It will combine other different technologies, and it will be there as a backbone, or as a very crucial part of the backbone. And what happens is that I think the way to illustrate it is with the story of Goldilocks. It's this girl who comes to build a house where there are 3 bears, and she goes there, eats from their bowl, sleeps in their bed, and then the bears arrive. And some of the bears, these being obviously, just to make it very clear, other energy market players, other ways of producing electricity, some of them will be angry at this success. Some of them will be worried. And then others will be very curious how to then take advantage, how to use it yourself. And at the same time, as you can see, the Goldilocks, she's still sleeping, she's happy, and she will continue to do whatever is needed, and this is being the solar story here. So what we will see, I think, is that if the market is being kept free, there will be challenges, there will be those who will ask, demand, regulating it more, not wanting to play along. But if we believe as a country that free market will be the best for consumers, then I think making sure that solar is there and it's been used the best way is the right way forward. So that's on that positive note. I think I'll finish for now, and then maybe there are questions later on.
Excellent, Peter. Thanks a lot. And now the big question, how to connect all that stuff. If it's unregulated, what do you need to connect them? So I'm happy to invite Rudolf Penu, member of the board of Elektrilevist. And Rudolf, you will tell us how to power this transition and how a strategic grid development for renewables can look like.
Yes. Hello, everyone. First of all, extremely happy to be here and extremely grateful to the organizers for inviting me. My name is Rudolf Penu. I represent the local distribution network of the system operator Elektrilevist. And yes, I will give a short insight into what it means for the distribution side of this whole transition. But first of all, a bit about our grids, our distribution grids. We cover pretty much the whole Estonian territory. From a territory perspective, we are fairly similar to, for example, the Netherlands. When we talk about our end customers, or the whole population of Estonia, then we are quite different. 10 plus times more people live in the Netherlands than they live in Estonia. At the same time, consumption per capita, fairly similar, 6 point something kilowatts hours. So, what I want to emphasize with that is that even though on the EU level we set similar goals and targets, but when it comes to achieving those targets, then we have to have a local state look into that as well, because every state is different, every grid is different. It requires different attributes to solve all these issues. But taking from the success story, from the distribution side perspective, as you can see, there has been a drastic increase. Back in 2016, there were only roughly 1,000 solar parks, mostly solar parks connected to the grid back then. Right now, year 2025, we have reached over 23,000 end producers, all connected to the distribution side. And this is not all. We have also transmission sites in Estonia, which will be added on top of that as well. We predict from the distribution side that by 35, the figures would even increase even further. So when we discussed earlier that there has been some sort of standstill or maybe some times of uncertainties, especially in the context of wind parks, then we can clearly see that when it comes to solar, when it comes to smaller producers, then there has been a constant growth. And these are all parks that are connected to especially to the distribution side, so small scale production. When we look, actually, yeah, at the same time, it's also important to say that as a distribution system operator, we are not one of the producers. This is something also that is very important when we talk about deregulating everything and allowing the free market. And distribution system is not part of the producers. We are not dealing with that. We are the enablers. We allow everyone to connect to the grid on a fair, similar basis. But when we look at the storage side, then it's even more drastic in a sense that by 2022, in 2022 reached the first year that the first storage unit was actually connected to the grid, to our distribution grid. Now in 2025, we have already over 600 of them. And also we predict there will be a drastic leap within the next 10 years, which offers, yes, maybe some challenges to the distribution side, but also believe that it has major potential also for helping us to make this grid more stable and to even lower the investment needs that we need to keep the network running. But when we look at a couple of years ahead, we just renewed our, we can call it our owner's expectations. Elektrilevi is part of the state-owned utility, so this is what the owner of Elektrilevi, pretty much the Estonian state, expects from us as a distribution side. And as you can see, it's just not just one target. There are many things that has to be achieved simultaneously, same time, all combined. And yes, competitive end price to the end consumer is also one of our key priorities. Yes, our part is just the distribution tariff, but we fully commit to understanding what is our impact in the context of the whole electricity bill. Similarly, the reliability of the network, when we talk about the outages, I think this is something that is a game changer whenever we want to discuss the competitiveness or the end price of the electricity, or even how green the electricity that we consume is. When it comes to outages, then this is something that the end customers really feel at this very point. So our goal is to keep the quality of the network, to keep the outages as low as possible. We have a new target, which is that the average combined outage for one end customer cannot be more than 120 minutes. And this is something that we're going to measure over a 5 years period to make it more reliable. Right now, in 2025, this figure is over 200 minutes, which means that in the next 10 years, we will have to pretty much cut down over 100 minutes of the combined outages for one single customer. Also, one of the key priorities is what is our role to allow even more production to enter our distribution grids. I think it's also important to say from the Estonian perspective that so far the majority of the connection costs has been borne by the end customers, not us as the grid, but the end customers, those who actually want to get connected, which is it can say it's a major burden, but at the same time, when we look back how we've achieved the things we've been achieving so far, there has been interest. There has been investors, there have been people agreeing that yes, we want to invest to the grid to be allowed to connect it. And to make it all cost effective, and something we haven't been able to unlock yet is the whole flexibility potential of the Estonian grids. We know that if we keep on going the way we've been doing so far, there are huge investment needs that need to be done in order to capacitate all that. But we believe that if we together as a market, if we'll be able to unlock the flexibility potential, then we believe that this is one of the aspects that help us to maintain the end costs as low as possible. But something that we work on a daily basis to achieve all that is, yes, I briefly touch upon the importance of talking about the total electricity bill, not just the grid tariff, not just the end electricity, not just the electricity price as such, and not about the taxation system, as it would be something completely separate. No, whatever we want to do together, as a state, as a free market, then all these aspects have to be looked at simultaneously at the same time. It was mentioned earlier that our local new market, our target regarding the competitiveness of the end price, and it was said that when we talk about the smaller customers or the households, then in that context we can say we are almost there. We have already reached the target. But it's extremely important to ask that whether we have achieved this target already, because the bigger consumers are paying too much today, and what is also the impact of the CREAT tariff. From the CREAT perspective, we see that yes, bigger customers are paying more per consumption than the smaller households, but is the solution to just redivide all that share, or we have something to actually improve over there? Yes, we talked about investments. We talked about that we need a lot more investment as a state, as a market, to the production side, but at the same time, distribution, local level CREAT investments are equally important, and this is something that us as a distribution network operator will have to bring on the table with argumentation, with statistics, with real figures, because end of the day, these are the end customers that want to whom we are doing this. What else? Yes, we talked about the connection fees. This is something, as I said, so far the system has been, let's say, in that sense that whoever wants to connect has to also bear the majority of the connection costs. We now see that, for example, our islands, Saaremaa and Hiiumaa, the entry fees, especially for the producers, have grown drastically, which has made it almost impossible to add more production. But what's the solution? Is it a solution that there will be a higher burden from the other customers or from the collective tariff, or we can see something different? Or maybe as a state, as a nation, we can maybe agree that in the next 10 years period, maybe there are some regions where we don't need more renewable energy. Maybe we need to focus on some specific areas where to actually focus the production and able to distribute it to all the end customers. But this is something that's up to debate. This is something that really can't be decided by a distribution system alone. It has to be decided collectively. And yes, the flexibility reform. We know that there is still room in the network if all the end users and us as a network together, we can figure out what is the real meaning of the flexibility, in a sense that all the connections so far has been built and designed in a way to enable the end user to use it 24/7 constantly. But in reality, we know that this is not the case. If the end users and the producers can say what is the real need from them to the distribution side, and if us from the distribution side, we can say what are the investments that maybe we can postpone or leave, if we know when there's really the demand for the network, then we believe that this is also a thing that can bring the upkeep of our network and the costs even lower. And yes, we've been talking a lot about renewables and the targets regarding the renewables, but let's remember that at the same time, the reliability and the stability and the quality of the network is equally important. So let's bring all these discussions together, and then we will come up with the best possible solutions. And yeah, it is a constant journey, it is a constant path. A lot of discussions ahead, but most importantly, a lot of things that has to be decided. And once they've been decided, it's not the end of the collaboration. This is where the real collaboration starts. So I think we're on the right track. There's a lot to be done more. But let's stay on the track, because at the end of the day, lights have to be kept on, and whenever there's, as long as we have also the little bit of like a inner sparkle within ourselves as well, then it makes it much more easier to achieve all the challenges. So that's all from my side, and I think questions will be from the panel. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Rudolf, and thanks all panelists for being very efficient with the timing, so we have a bit of time. If there are questions, answers, short statements from the audience, it's now the time. Anything on the panel, questions or so? If not, then you did a great, there's one. Yeah, please. Please introduce you shortly.
Ain Laidoja, Estonian Hydrogen Association. I'm happy the topic of storage was discussed today, and it was mostly discussed intraday battery storage. And perhaps Peter can give me advice how we can get energy, electricity during the winter time when sunshine is not available, and how we can sort out seasonal storage issue in Estonia.
So first, I think Sunly, together with some partners, already has an idea of long-term storage, and this is the Paldiski Pump Hydro, which will be a very different kind of storage compared with batteries and so on. But I'll answer, could get to the point of will hydrogen play a role in long-term storage or not? And hard to see that it will. Very hard to see that it will play important or central role in the system, or because it is very, very expensive, and I mean, we don't see that kind of being the solution here. But when it comes to this seasonal potential, like these times when there is no renewables or renewables are not enough, actually we saw from Silver's very good graph that when you combine solar and wind and batteries, you will get almost baseload like coverage monthly basis, and then these hours which are missing need to be taken care of with storage, but there the short-term storage already has a very big impact. And then if you add there what Rudolf was requesting or trying to sort out, the flexible demand, which very much goes together with Silver's point and Rene's point on electrification, especially if we talk about electrification of very flexible areas, such as transport, such as heating, then there is probably a moment when these things come together, and again, probably we don't need large-scale other seasonal storage in a way that, you know, we need to power Estonia for a 1 month from storage alone. There won't be this moment in our energy system.
Okay, further questions? There's one in the back. And here.
Hello. Yes, Kert Kaspar from Waybuilder. Question, why would you exclude bioenergy? Like, why wouldn't you mention it at the moment as seasonal, like how to tackle the seasonality problem? Bioenergy.
Bioenergy. Yeah, I think, I mean, biogas will definitely play a role, especially when it comes to peaks. I'm not sure about producing electricity from biomass, that this is like the smartest way of doing things. Yeah, so from storage perspective, at least I don't have that understanding. It's more when you talk about biogas that there's definitely a role to play when it comes to covering the peaks and doing that job that we're right now doing with LNG.
First year, and then first year, as you wish.
My name is Alar Jürgenson, and I'm from National Audit of Estonia. And the question is maybe firstly to Terje Talv, but the others who might know how to answer. Terje mentioned the need to expand or increase the electricity demand and consumption. And it takes me to the industry strategy in Estonia. Do you know the situation of industry strategy in Estonia? Is it synchronized or with electricity or energy strategy? And if not, then why it should be important for the development of renewable energy?
Yeah, I think it is synchronized, and there is now we have new minister. It's not new, so new, but still new minister in the economics, and they are preparing different like steps and programs to bring in new industry and new like understanding how we can develop this side from Estonia. And of course there is our EISA, it's the Invest in Estonia, and there are plans. But I think the most difficult part was in some cases was that if it's not in concrete, like it's not building, then in Estonia we don't don't believe in it, and it means that it's the egg and chicken. And if we say that yeah, we want to produce more electricity because there is demand and it's coming, but at the same time the new demand cannot come because there is no production, then it's really difficult to understand. But I think the cooperation with the minister and the agency is getting bit better, and yeah, we definitely should like put our minds into it.
Yes, if I may also complement, there are various incentive programs being put in place in order to encourage the industrial investments, and there's a measure to support large-scale investments, and Enterprise Estonia is working also on a guarantee mechanism which would not only apply to large-scale energy investments, but also other industrial investments. There's a very interesting proposal put forward by the ministry on to lower the renewable energy fees for the industries if this is complemented with PPAs with renewables. So there are some positive signals, but as Terje also mentioned, there's a need also for renewable electricity, cheaper electricity, which is not in the horizon, especially if we are speaking about the seasons when electricity is consumed the most, autumn and winter in Estonia. And as I demonstrated, at the moment there's a very, very long lead times to develop new wind parks in Estonia, and this has to be addressed in order to really make sure that these, at least these opportunities to realize these investments would be there. On another point that was mentioned on whether biomass would make a role in energy mix, then currently it is an important player in Estonian both heating and electricity sectors. It's sustainably sourced biomass, as all the industry has to make sure that is sustainably sourced, and all the industries is doing so. But gradually this is phasing out as more and more electrification would happen also in the heating sector, and this is true also in the case of Utilitas. We are making investments into new heat pumps, into these large-scale heat pumps that would replace the consumption of biomass, but also natural gas.
So, yes, to your comment, me and actually Jukka here comes from a 2-day event with Invest in Estonia. I can tell you guys that there is a clear interest in this, and energy became the big topic, whether we liked it or not during that session. So I think for next time this session takes place, I think there should be a couple of industrialists here looking to actually invest, because energy is just something that you use somewhere else. It's not in itself. So I think they should be here and actually speak to all of us to actually talk about why remind us why we are here. Second question is, it was good that Peter mentioned markets, because I think we are all representing different types of generation, and I think you need a certain type of characteristics to run a system. I've been with the Swedish TSO. So if you put up markets for that, you will actually avoid someone that actually maybe not understand the system and what you need, deciding you need this much of this and this much of that. Then the market will regulate that if it's the right incentive in the market design. So maybe if someone in the panel, because you have said so many things that I think all of us agree to, but if you would like to comment on the market design and how applicable it is, it's an energy-only market basically. You have some ancillary services which are frequency-based. There is nothing on inertia, there is nothing of these different things. So maybe if it's an open question to, I guess, the room on market design and how applicable it is.
Well, most certainly the market design is key, and we have actually had at the European level this discussion right after COVID, when there were various ideas how to reform the market design, and the final agreement, which has been already implemented, is that the market design as such would continue. Marginal pricing will be the way to clear the prices, and in order to encourage the investments, this should be complemented with CFDs and PPAs. And I think that's something we have to then take into account when designing our own approach how to encourage the investments here in this region. So these are the PPAs, CFDs, and then the usual energy-only or frequency markets.
Just a quick comment, Thor Vertmann still from DG Energy. On the market design, indeed a lot of discussions on the day had market functioning, and everybody had a chance to look deeply into it. So day ahead market works beautifully well for the following things. Dispatch, which power plants are brought in first, second, third. The cleanest, the cheapest. It will define the cross-border flows, so it's an optimization exercise, very important. I've mentioned the tens of billions of socioeconomic benefit from the internal market. And the third is just to keep the lights on, to make sure that we have established a rough balance between the consumption and production for the next day. For industry and for the kind of consumer concerns that are very legitimate, we have looked into the long-term instruments that provide stability if energy is your input cost, you will want that stability. And you can easily circumnavigate the day-ahead market or any other of the short-term, extremely volatile markets with the PPA, with a long-term contract. If the state, for household consumers, for anyone else, has this price stability as an aim, CFD is the solution to go, as mentioned in the EU acquis. And volatility, which is important for the short-term market, will remain. Price signals are extremely important to deliver the solutions in the shorter perspective. But indeed, this kind of a narrow focus on the day-ahead market, there's a lot beyond which needs to be considered when we talk about energy-intensive industry or any industry for that matter.
Any more comments from the panel? Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Maybe just a small one. I think people who are more price sensitive or consumers who are more price sensitive, they are already using what came from Rudolf's slides as well. They are using storage to really deal with this problem on themselves, so to bring down volatility for themselves. And as for the day-ahead prices, we talk about it quite a lot, but this massive amount of batteries that will come to the Baltic energy system, we haven't seen that yet affecting the day-ahead price, because these batteries are right now being used mostly on the balancing markets and to earn profits there. So it's not affecting the day-ahead prices yet, but as Elering is expecting, and I think market participants as well, next year, the second half of next year, we will already start seeing that. So in a year, I believe we will talk much less about volatility in Estonia as well.
Yet another question or a comment? I don't know. Rudolf, yeah, go ahead, please.
Maybe just a quick comment that I think it's very important when whatever initiative we talk about or discuss, then to start from the starting point. What's the actual cost of one initiative, and what's the idea behind financing it? And once that is clear, I think this is a very good platform for allowing all sorts of initiatives and all sorts of innovative solutions actually emerge. Well, especially when, for example, when we talk about the connections fees to the grid or the grid tariff as such, that if we know what's the connection fee in one specific point, or when do we know that what's the actual cost of distributing electricity to one certain region, and if we know the real cost of that, then we know what to compare with it and what do we have to actually achieve to make a change in it. When the starting point is blurry, then it just, from our perspective, makes it very difficult to actually find the right solutions to solve the issues. Yeah.
Okay, more questions? If not, I would say we're just on time and we deserve a good lunch after a very, very long session. I thank everyone. We will continue exactly in an hour, 12:30. Now please enjoy the break and the lunch. Thanks a lot.